Hey folks, I appreciate you stopping in. If you're dry, I've got some ice cold Shasta number 17 on tap. I've got quite a bit of the siding installed and I'm happy with my progress, but before I continue, I want to do a couple of projects inside the trailer that may require access to these exposed front and side exterior walls. There are two jobs that I want to focus on. One is the kitchen counters and the other is the bench that goes over here on the starboard side. I've got some tricks up my sleeve for the bench and it's still in the planning stages, so I'll start working on the countertops first. I've thought a lot about what method I should use for the kitchen counters and I've settled on a custom laminate job. While I have tried my hand in the past at tile and granite installations, I've never done anything with laminate. So this should be fun. A laminate countertop consists of a particle board base with something pretty glued on the top. So the first thing I need to do is measure this area so I can accurately cut my particle board. To help me do this, I've got my King period stovetop and range in place, and by period I mean this is junk. Period. Alrighty, I've got my measurements squared away, so now I can cut the particle board, and I can also remove this relic. I need to be careful though, I don't want to scratch the rust. I've got the particle board cut, so now I'll set it in place and see how it fits. Come on, fit. You know you want to. Looks like we need a trim. Can't quite go down all the way because this little leg is getting hung up. Well, after shaving a little bit off this side, it fits. Now it's time to take this piece out again and cut some laminate. The countertop's back out here in the open and I have it flipped upside down. The next thing I'm going to do is attach this little trim piece to the underside of the front edge so I can face it with laminate later on. The particle board base is prepared. Now let's cut some laminate. This is Formica Labrador granite laminate sheet. It's a 4-foot by 8-foot piece and I'm not sure exactly how to cut it, but let's figure that out together. I've done a little homework and the general idea with regard to cutting this stuff is I'm supposed to rough cut it first into a nice manageable shape and then glue that down onto the particle board base. After I do that, I can finish out the fine cuts with a router. The rough cut can be done in a couple of different ways. I can score the piece with a knife and break it, or I can cut it with a circular saw, or I can rough cut it with a router. Because of the tools that I have, or rather don't have on hand right now, I'm going to use a circular saw. Because of the direction in which the blade cuts, it's important to cut this piece from the back. So I'll flip it upside down. I have it laying on a piece of the styrofoam insulation right now so it won't scratch. And I'm going to turn it around because there's a chip on that far corner. I got a bargain on this piece because of that chip. Saved me about $6. And now I'll lay down the particle board countertop. Okay, that looks good. As you can see here, I don't have the particle board all the way up against the edge of the granite because this is just a rough cut. And it's good to have some margin for error. And I'll do some tracing with my pencil to get an idea of where I want to cut. Now that I've made my marks, I'll take this off. Now I'll slide a couple of 1x4s underneath here so that as I cut this, the saw blade won't cause any damage to the styrofoam underneath. Okay, time to cut. I've got a fine-tooth blade in my circular saw, and although my first intention was to make a straight cut all the way down the width of the sheet, I'm not going to do that because I want to save this long strip so I can fabricate a backsplash. So I'll attempt a little bit of a plunge cut starting here at the corner. I was able to cut the laminate sheet without incident, and now I'm ready to join it to the particle board. To glue the two together, I'm going to use DAP contact cement. The instructions say that I need to coat both the sheet and the board with glue and then let them rest for 20 minutes. After that time has elapsed, I can place the laminate on top of the board. I need to be very, very careful when I do this, however, because when the laminate sheet meets the particle board, a permanent and immovable bond will be created. The pieces are both dry. Let's give this a try. We've only got one shot. Because of the permanency of this process, it's especially important to keep these surfaces clean and free of any particles. Just a single grain of sand trapped underneath the laminate sheet can create a noticeably uneven countertop. Wow, that's sticky. It's amazing. It doesn't stick to my hands at all. Wow.
Oh yeah, that's on there.
Science! Now we need to apply some pressure for it to stick, I guess, even more permanently. Now that the sheet is secured to the particle board, I'll cut and attach a strip of laminate for right here, which will become the front face of the countertop. I've got the front face piece cut, and I'm going to install it with this nice straight factory edge up against the underside of the main sheet. I've got the front face piece installed. Now it's time to break out the router and do some trimming. I'm about done with this piece. The last thing I'm going to do is clean up this sharp edge with a fine-tooth file. It's important to pull the file away from the colored surface of the laminate to avoid chipping. I almost forgot, I need to make the cutout for the luxurious and spacious stainless steel sink. Okay, now, let's see if it fits. Here we go. Alright, that's progress. Now I'll just put some screws in from underneath so it'll stay put. It turns out that my cabinet framing is not perfectly flat, so I've made some shims out of the scrap laminate pieces. Yeah, nothing like a new flat surface to fill up with junk. Oh, not the greatest news. Good morning, everybody. Last night I got my countertop secured. It was supposed to rain, so I put the tarp over the Shasta, and this morning I found that my waterproofing was not very effective. I got water on my countertop, and what's worse, water ran down from the countertop all the way down here on my unfinished plywood, which is not a good thing. Down here as well, I think it leaked down through the drain of my sink. I hope there isn't any permanent damage. This is just more stress and more motivation as well to get this thing sealed up. I ordered 5 rolls of butyl tape for sealing up the windows, and I'm still trying to get some screws that are similar to the original hex head screws to secure the windows. After I put in the windows, the door, and corner trim or drip rail, whatever I decide on, then it should be watertight, but this is just a real bummer. I really don't like seeing my brand new work that was caused by lack of waterproofing originally, because the trailer was rotten, ruined by water. So I guess I'll let this dry out. I don't think it's supposed to rain today, and hope for the best. Anyway, today I'm going to work on the backsplashes for this countertop. Splashes. Splish splash. It's been a few hours since I talked to you about that water I discovered this morning, and I think I'm just about through pouting. I've got my mind right, and I'm ready to continue on with the task at hand. These are a couple of pieces of particle board that I have cut for backsplash material. They're coated with contact cement, and I'm ready to apply some laminate. I've cut this piece just a little bit bigger than the particle board so that I can router off the excess. Next, I'll just clean up these sharp edges with a file, then I can finish up the pieces by installing a piece of laminate on the tops. How's it look from where you stand? I've got a couple back splashes finished. Let's see how they fit. Cake decorating. And now that these two backsplashes are installed, I can measure and cut the back piece. This is where it's handy to not have the siding installed on the outside. Well, I think that'll do it for now as far as the kitchen counters go. I'm not really sure what I want to tackle next, especially considering how vulnerable this thing is to water intrusion. But I'll figure it out and catch up with you guys next time. Thanks for watching.